situation in the Balkans.
You are watching the evening news of Radio Television Serbia. Good evening. President of the Republic and Commander-in-Chief, Slobodan Milošević, issued a decree on appointment of generals to new posts. General Blagoje Kovačević was appointed to the post of Chief of Operations Sector of Military Chiefs of Staff. General Milorad Obradović was appointed to the post of the Second Army Commander. General Miodrag Simić was appointed to the post of the Chief of Army Sector of Military Chiefs of Staff. General Jagoš Stevanović was appointed Chief of Second Army Headquarters. General Spasa Đurović was appointed Commander of Infantry Sector. General Ratomir Ristić was appointed Deputy Defense Minister for Civil Defense, and General Jugoslav Kođopelić was appointed Head of Military Industry in the Ministry of Defense. General Radoslav Martinović was appointed Counsel in the Ministry of Defense. President of the Republic, Slobodan Milošević, met in Belgrade with Dr. Ibrahim Rugova. In the discussion concerning the issue of Kosovo and Metohija, they had in Belgrade, Milošević and Rugova agreed that they both are committed to the political process and to finding the long-term solution only through the political means. President of the Republic, Slobodan Milošević, met today with Archbishop Jean-Louis Tauran, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Vatican, who came to visit Belgrade. Archbishop Tauran delivered to Slobodan Milošević a personal message from Pope John Paul II, expressing the opposition of the Holy See to the aggression on Yugoslavia. He stated that Vatican wanted military attack on Yugoslavia to cease and expressed Vatican's support to the peaceful resolution of the problem. Archbishop Tauran stated that the Holy See, as a moral authority, urged the NATO member countries to terminate all military action on the eve of Easter. Milošević expressed appreciation for the initiative of the Holy See and Pope John Paul II to bring aggression to an end, and expressed his deep belief that the forces fighting for peace, truth and justice will triumph over the dark forces which engage in criminal aggression on other countries and peoples, their freedom and national dignity. Yugoslavia is engaged in a just struggle and defends all of its citizens, regardless of their nationality, against criminal aggression, and will never give up its country nor freedom. Other individuals at the meeting included Foreign Minister Živojin Ivanović and Vatican's ambassador to Yugoslavia, Santos, Abil y Costello. Milošević also met with a delegation of a Greek Orthodox Church in Belgrade. Greek delegation included Archbishop Nikilinski Jakov, Bishop of Veria, Bishop of Xantia, together with their hosts, bishops of Serbian Orthodox Church, Bishops Irine of Bačka, Pahomije of Vranje, and Ignati of Braničevo. In cordial discussion, the bishops gave Slobodan Milošević warmest greetings and expressions of deep support and solidarity from Greek people. Their unanimous belief is that the fight for freedom, justice, and national dignity shall be triumphant. The solidarity of Greek people to the people of Yugoslavia who are subjected to criminal NATO aggression is very deep. Greek people and Church are strongly condemning the NATO aggression led by United States and Yugoslavia. As a symbol of this unanimous sentiment of Greek people and Church, Greek Church shall, until Easter, regularly hold services dedicated to Yugoslavia's triumph over the aggressor. Slobodan Milošević, on behalf of the Yugoslav people, thanked for the support of Greek people and Church and encouragement of our just struggle. A nation that is fighting for its freedom may never be defeated, stated Mr. Milošević. Zhivatin Jovanovic, Yugoslav Minister of Foreign Affairs, was present at the meeting as well. President of Serbia, Milan Milutinovic, met today with Jean-Louis Toran, Vatican Foreign Minister, who came to our country as a special envoy of Pope John Paul II. Vatican's high officials stated that the Holy See and Pope John Paul II personally are devoting a great deal of efforts to urgently stopping NATO aggression against Yugoslavia. They are deeply distressed by bombing, destruction, and civilian sufferings. President Milutinovic stated that our country is a peaceful one, that we have not attacked anyone. We're defending our country, all of its citizens, their freedom and peace from an insane NATO aggression. Our military forces and people are united in their readiness and decisiveness to defend themselves from NATO. Aggressor attacks our cities, villages, kills civilians, destroys our homes and factories, airports and bridges, wishing to conquer us and cause disintegration of Serbia and Yugoslavia. United States and their allies, masking their true actions by the alleged concern for Albanians in Kosovo and Metohija, continue to spread desolation and force thousands of people to flee, trying to cynically accuse our country, which is a victim of their aggression, for the deadly results. Incessant bombing produces refugees because it destroys their homes and citizens of all nationalities. Serbia and Yugoslavia are determined to defend themselves and solve all problems in Kosovo through political means with highest level of autonomy and civilian liberties for all nationals of all nations in Kosovo and Metohija. NATO crimes will not deter us from achieving this. In addition to destroying the basic principles of international law, NATO aggression is at the same time the most vicious attack on the brightest principles and teachings of Christianity. Milutinovic urged the Holy See to condemn this aggression clearly, raise its voice against this insanity, and use all of its moral authority to stop this crime against humanity. Foreign Affairs Minister Živodin Jovanovic met in Belgrade with the Archbishop Toran, Foreign Minister of Vatican. During the meeting, it was said that the NATO aggression against Yugoslavia represented the most severe violation of the United Nations Charter, basic principles of international law, peace and security in the region, Europe, and the entire globe. Aggression must be terminated immediately and unconditionally. This vandalism targets schools, hospitals, refugee complexes, bridges, roads, cultural monuments. Minister Jovanovic stated that Vatican's willingness to see firsthand the results of the destruction is deeply appreciated, as are Vatican's efforts aimed at stopping the bombing and protecting Europe from danger and destruction caused by NATO attack mandated by United States. In Serbia and Yugoslavia, there is a unity of citizens and leadership in their desire to defend the country from aggression and provide a peaceful resolution to the Kosovo problem. Serbian Patriarch Pavle met with a delegation from Vatican led by the Archbishop Toran. I had an honor of delivering to Patriarch Pavle Easter greetings from the Holy Father, said Toran, and added that upon return to Vatican, he would deliver to John Paul II Easter greetings from Patriarch Pavle. In Russia, Boris Yeltsin stated that the continuation of NATO aggression may not be allowed and that the solution to Kosovo problem must be sought at the negotiating table. Yeltsin stated today that despite Russia's active efforts, NATO aggression against Yugoslavia is expanding. Such escalation threatened to turn into a great misery not only for Europe. We must not allow that to happen. The Kosovo problem can and must be resolved at the negotiating table. Primakov saw that at his meeting with Milosevic. Today, Yeltsin said, I will order my foreign minister to urgently call the foreign ministers of G8 countries in order to organize an extraordinary meeting of the ministers of these countries in order to resolve this issue peacefully. Every lost day brings new victims and tragedies. We must act now. Events in Yugoslavia transcend the Balkans, was stated today by Igor Ivanov, Russian foreign minister. He also added that urgent new steps are needed to resolve this crisis and added that new steps from Moscow can be expected today. Increased presence of NATO forces adds new tasks to Russia, including intelligence ones, which explains the reason behind the sending of Russian reconnaissance ships into the Mediterranean. In a telephone conversation with Madeleine Albright, Ivanov stated that Russia must protect its security and it must have precise information on NATO intent in the zone of military conflict. Reconnaissance ship Liman, part of the Black Sea Fleet, sailed this morning towards Mediterranean, while the North and Pacific fleets are also conducting their maneuvers. Russian Duma today introduced a proposal to adopt new measures as a response to the continuation of NATO military activity. Duma also requested the removal of the Russian ambassador to Washington and a reduction in embassy personnel of the U.S. Embassy in Moscow. President Yeltsin, in his meeting with the Ukrainian President Kuchma, stated that the situation in Yugoslavia demanded an intensification of strategic partnership between Moscow and Kiev. Aggression on Yugoslavia was the topic of the day on today's conference of the newly independent states. Protesting against NATO aggression against Yugoslavia, Belarus cut off all military contacts with NATO. It was officially reported today in Moscow that the 7th Fleet successfully launched ballistic missiles from the nuclear submarine. The missile was launched in Barents Sea and hit the predetermined target near Kamchatka. It was also announced that according to the plans on preparedness of strategic nuclear forces of Russia, strategic nuclear submarine cruiser Delta III launched a missile. Russian Navy confirmed that the launching demonstrated a high level of combat readiness. U.S. nuclear submarine was observed in the Barents Sea. It was discovered by the forces of the Russian Navy's 7th Fleet, which is carrying significant maneuvers currently. Obviously, U.S. submarine Los Angeles class is on the reconnaissance mission and was seen by the members of the Russian 7th Fleet. The next story, please. In Belgrade, both houses of the parliament, headed by Milomir Minic and Gorica Gajevic, met with a delegation of the Russian Federation Duma and Belarus parliament, led by the Vice President of Duma, Sergei Baburin. Condemning NATO aggression against sovereign and independent Yugoslavia, Baburin stated that it was a crime against people of Yugoslavia and that barbaric aggression had to stop immediately. Reiterating the strong support of Russian people, Baburin stated that Russian Federation feels deep solidarity and is ready to provide all possible humanitarian aid. The visit of Russian and Belarus legislators is a symbol of support to Serbia and Yugoslavia in these difficult times. NATO is committing a crime against the people and the state through their aggression. They are bombing our hospitals, schools, the cities and villages, which represents a crime against humanity by NATO and United States. NATO has spun a spiral of evil in the region and the whole world with huge consequences. NATO bombs have burned all norms of international law, United Nations Charter, OSCE decrees. We will not give in to the aggressor and we will defend our homeland. This was reiterated by the Serbian legislators. Minister of Foreign Affairs Jivanovic met today with the delegation of the Russian Federation Duma, led by Sergei Baburin. Duma has almost always properly understood the situation, both in the former Yugoslavia and today, when Washington obviously wants to conquer the Balkans. Russian Duma has sided with the people of Yugoslavia throughout these years. Serbian Deputy Prime Minister Šešelj also met with the delegation of Russian Duma and Belarus Parliament, led by Sergei Baburin. Šešelj stated that in this war against Yugoslavia, our people, who are more united than ever, will win over the American aggressors and their Western servants. Military and police of Yugoslavia demonstrated a high level of patriotism. People are united in their intent to defend their homeland, and brethren from Russia and Belarus are giving us a welcome support. Especially grateful to all people who are providing support, especially highlighted the support of Macedonia and Greece. Šešelj also stated that the visit of Primakov announced the beginning of the political mechanism which shall be continued. Despite Western propaganda in this war against our people, new concerns with respect to their self-stated goals in this aggression were raised this morning by the footage of 3 American soldiers which were captured in Kosovo by our military. Press Bureau of the Pristina Corps stated that this morning stated that on March 31st, on the territory of Yugoslavia, 3 U.S. soldiers were captured. Non-commissioned officers James Stone and Andrew Ramirez and Private Stephen Gonzalez. All 3 are members of Reconnaissance Unit of the U.S. Division based in Germany. Reports from Bonn state that German politicians were deeply concerned by the news that 3 U.S. soldiers were captured by Yugoslav authorities. Germans are concerned for the safety of 3,000 of their soldiers stationed in Macedonia. Minister of Defense Rudolf Scharping stated this morning that they would take everything possible to protect their soldiers. At the same time, Scharping referred to the United Nations and stated, believe it or not, that U.S. soldiers had immunity. Scharping and others like him unscrupulously violate UN Charter and international law in sending their planes in aggression against a sovereign independent Yugoslavia. In Germany, there is more position over the fact that Schroeder government has violated German constitution, which stated that German army is forever banned from participating in any kind of war. In Bonn, John Clearwater, representative of U.S. forces in Germany, admitted that Yugoslav forces captured 3 soldiers from the 1st Infantry Division. Overnight, Western aggressors forgot about the alleged humanitarian catastrophe in Kosovo, which they used to legitimize its aggression, and focused exclusively on 3 captured soldiers. We have also heard that American Führer is under a lot of fire as well, since he kept reiterating to the U.S. public that Americans are going into a war against Yugoslavia intending to win without any losses or victims. Despite daily lies intended to conceal their own losses from their public, the aggressor and NATO leadership do admit that our air defense is successful. Although informational losses is frequently concealed from the public, enemy planes and missiles are being shot down more and more often. This morning in Zagreb Airport Pleso, another heavily damaged F-117 managed to land there. Should this aircraft be called a pride or an expensive embarrassment of the U.S. Air Force? It was shot down last night by our Air Force, which defended the country against NATO attack, delivering deadly load on our country throughout the night. The news of the Radio Television Serbia on shooting of another F-117 plane was confirmed by Zagreb Radio 101. The radio said that another of those stealth airplanes had an emergency landing on the Zagreb airport. It was damaged by the anti-aircraft missiles. This information also denies NATO claim that all planes which participated in an action last night came back into their bases undamaged. 1 NATO plane and 2 helicopters with about 50 members of special rescue troops were shot down near the mountain of Tara, southwest of Belgrade. With a successful response of Yugoslav air defense, the plane was shot down after midnight, and soon after that, 2 helicopters were neutralized. These helicopters took off from a base in Bosnia in search of a plane that was shot down. Despite all this, NATO attack on our country is underway for 9 days. They're intentionally targeting civilian facilities, daycare, schools, colleges, and monasteries. Western media is covering this aggression. If only they would explain to the uninformed resident of Texas or Great Britain, what does the alleged humanitarian catastrophe in southern province of Serbia have to do with a bridge in the northern province of Serbia? This morning, around 5 o'clock, as the public transport started operating, the enemy destroyed Varadin Bridge over Danube, which connects Novi Sad and Petrovaradin. The residents of the city spent the night in the shelters. They were awakened by strong detonations and defense by our air defense. I crossed the bridge and then I heard a second detonation which actually knocked down the bridge. So you were actually lucky. Yes, we must call it luck. The detonation damaged a large number of residential houses in Petrovaradin and Novi Sad. Enemy war machine, which pretends to be saving civilians, just destroyed the oldest bridge in Novi Sad at the very moment when the citizens were getting ready to go to work. The exact number of the injured person is not yet known at this time. The enemy from NATO target everything. This morning they targeted the bridge over Danube near Beška on the international highway M22. Nothing prevented them from shooting this bridge, even the fact that there were tens of vehicles on the bridge at the time of the shooting. Due to the brave resistance from Yugoslav air defense, the enemy was not able to successfully accomplish this mission. Our defenders shot down one missile and the rest of the missiles missed the target. This is Strasmayer Street in Petrovaradin, just 100 meters away from the bridge, which was savagely destroyed this morning by NATO. The damage to civilian facilities is huge, and they are a further evidence of the enemy's goal to destroy our people and all civilizational values. A great damage was inflicted on the Catholic Church, St. Jure, which is classified as a historic building, and it was built in 1714. This church was completely restored in 1989. Strong detonation damaged many buildings by the Danube, including the building of the Museum of Vojvodina. Aggressor's brutality did not spare even the elementary school Đorđe Natošević. You can see that the windows were damaged and the facade. Showing shameless disregard, the enemy also targeted Petrovaradin fortress. Cultural treasure of Novi Sad, Serbia, and the whole world once again became the target of the enemy. This is not just the cultural treasure of the city, of one people. The collection in our museum ranges from prehistoric artifacts before people inhabited this area to articles of spiritual and tangible multi-ethnic culture of the modern times. This is all housed in this building, and if this means nothing to these new barbarians, then I am helpless before these new vandals. Vandals who know only how to kill started targeting one of the oldest Serbian cities. Many houses along the Danube were damaged. Many of these houses are older than American state, which sends fascist orders to attack our people. It is hard to speak about the damage. It's even hard to think about it. People are just shocked by this barbarism, which has not been seen in recent history. The aggressor did not even spare the university. If we came to a point that the very essence of one nation, its university, is attacked, then that signifies the end of a civilization. Foreign Minister of Transport Dejan Drobnjakovic informed the Danube countries that due to the destruction of the bridge at the 1,255th kilometer of the river, the transport on the Danube is interrupted. It is the longest river route in Europe. This criminal act of aggression is a violation of the European Plan on Development of River Corridors Convention on the River Transport on Danube, which was signed 1 year before the bridge was built. When the sacred birds saw that poor people could not cross the deep river and go about finishing their business and are talking to each other standing on different banks, the birds spread their wings so that the people can cross the river over their wings. This is how people learned from the sacred birds how to build bridges. And this is why, after the water fountain, the greatest charity is to build a bridge, and the greatest sin is to damage the bridge, because every bridge has its sacred bird that protects it as long as the God intended for it to exist. An excerpt from the Bridge over Drina River by Ivo Andrić. The participants of the protest in Novi Sad headed to the old Varadin Bridge, which does not exist anymore. This is one of the oldest bridges over Danube, which connected Novi Sad and the old city of Petrovaradin. This is a spot that means a lot to many residents of Novi Sad. A huge line of people, flowers and tears stand as a reminder to all what an insane criminal mind is able to do. The monument to the victims of fascism is not alone. As of today, the old bridge that was brought down by fascist NATO bombs is another warning to the world. The crimes of NATO will remain in the hearts and minds of our people. During last night in Pristina, aggressors launched numerous cruise missiles and bombs. 2 missiles hit the neighborhood of Vranjevec in Pristina, which is predominantly populated by Albanians. As a result of Tomahawk Democracy's actions, 7 people were injured severely and 11 people were hospitalized, including children. There was a significant damage caused to many houses, while 5 houses were completely destroyed. The citizens who were afraid were evacuated from this part of the city. During the last 2 nights, 8 cruise missiles were fired on Peć, together with cluster bombs, which are banned by the international agreements. Serbian villages of Belo Polje, Zagremlje were targeted today, as well as the shopping center in Peć. Many civilians were injured by this attack, while 2 bombs landed near the jewel of not only Serbian but international medieval cultural heritage. The enemy does not choose the means of aggression on our country. You can see the proof of that here, just 20 meters away from the entrance to Peć Patriarchate. There are many remnants of non-activated cluster bombs around here. This morning, around 9:15, a plane made so much noise that all of us just died of fear. We started running, and then we heard an explosion here, the forest right next to the monastery. We heard this explosion. The church shook, and then it stopped. Were you afraid? Oh yes, we were all afraid. Of course we were. you should have heard this thunder. We hear this thunder every day, and today it was simply terrible. This is not the first time that the enemy is targeting Pech Patriarchate. No, they tried to attempted to destroy it in 1981, but the gods preserved it, and I hope now that the Mother of God will help us preserve it now as well. It is more than 700 years old. Pech Patriarchate is a pearl of Serbian medieval culture. It was erected in the 13th century. Its frescoes, paintings, and icons represent an unparalleled civilizational value. Here, before Rembrandt, before the Dutch school of painting, the artist created a perfect balance between dark and light tones, and the frescoes on the wall of this patriarchate represent an invaluable cultural treasure which must be preserved. Between two enemy air raids, we decided to visit a former stronghold of the terrorist forces between the villages of Mališevo and Orahovac, and we stopped in the village of Dragobilje. We are now in this village that up until yesterday used to be the chief headquarters of the Albanian terrorists in Kosovo. Up until yesterday, the reporting team of Radio Television Serbia would not have been able to visit this village, but the fact that we are here means that the terrorist organization has been defeated. Holbrook, Hill, and Walker frequently visited this village, the stronghold of Albanian separatist terrorists. This is last year's footage from Dragobilje, where Holbrook met with the leaders of Albanian terrorist organization. This house used to be the main headquarters of this terrorist organization. They have left many photographs in this building. Among the documents, we found the diary of the operations of this terrorist organization, documents which showed that the villagers registered the cars that were used for terrorists. This car was used by the terrorist commander. The house which had the headquarters in it was surrounded by deep trenches. You can also see how the terrorists used the residential houses. There are parts of uniforms, food found in these houses that was sent from the United States. Many trenches with sandbags. With the beginning of NATO aggression, terrorists started more intensely attacking Yugoslav military and policemen. However, the terrorists were disappointed by the effect of aggressors' bombing, and they started running away. They have left this stronghold. There are no more terrorists in Dragobilje, Kučarevo, Prekazi, and other surrounding villages, which used to be their strongest strongholds. The so-called Kosovo Liberation Army has fallen apart, and the remnants of other gangs shall also be destroyed. Last night, around 10 p.m., the enemy attacked the villages of Magura and Vrelo using the cluster bombs which have been banned by the international agreements. The residents of these villages are both Albanians and Serbians, and of course the members of both nationalities have been injured. What did we do to them? What did these children do to them? They are denying these children their right to life, to freedom. There are no military objects in this area. Why are they destroying our houses? Why should our children live in fear? Why don't they think that these children need their youth, their childhood? This is incomprehensible. This is a terror that they're inflicting on these children. Why are they doing this? What did these children do to them? This Clinton, doesn't he think about the children? I'm speechless. I cannot describe this. I'm speechless. The children cannot sleep peacefully. I think they're just the biggest barbarians in this world. Clinton is just an evil man. He destroys our houses. He shoots farmers, the cattle. Brave Serbian defenders managed to shoot down 4 cruise missiles. But since the aggressors used a large number of cluster bombs, the authorities are warning people to call special units which will then neutralize these clusters. The enemy used missiles in order to target one of the neighboring villages and neighborhoods in this area. These missiles were shot down by the units of Yugoslav air defense, which daily, decisively, and successfully respond to NATO bombing. During the night, they shot down 3 missiles of great destructive power. What you see here is what we localized this morning. This is how the powerful missiles look. They are launched from NATO planes. What I have here is the head of the AGM-130 missile. This was launched from a NATO plane. This is the missile that was shot down by our air defense. We are here to protect our country, our homeland. Yesterday we had an attack, enemy attack. We shot down 2 missiles. We have also shot missiles over previous nights. What else can I tell you? I was the one that shot 1 missile last night. What kind of feeling is it when you shoot a missile? Well, it's a great feeling. You look at the missile and you say to the missile, well, you're not coming this way, and then you shoot it down. We are here daily exposed to NATO attacks, but we have seen that they're not as powerful as they look. We have shot down several of their missiles. They can continue, but we will just keep shooting their missiles. Air defense members proudly state that they're always ready and motivated for new challenges in their defense of the country against NATO aggression. 2 missiles hit the villages of Lug and Zaglavak last night. The roofs of the houses and the windows were destroyed by this explosion. It happened around 11:20. We were already sleeping, and then we felt a very strong detonation. The glass was falling on us, and of course we were scared, and then we started running. We were not injured, luckily. We shall rebuild this, we shall fix this as long as we stay healthy. Who was in the house? Just me and my wife. They shoot us farmers who work day and night, and then we can't even sleep and rest at night. Why? Because of his bombs. You can see that they are really not choosing their targets, but because there are no military facilities in these areas. Regardless of all media lies in the West, the war that is waged against our country is not antiseptic. The civilians are the ones that are victims. There were tens of civilians who were hospitalized with severe injuries here at Pristina Hospital. And since the bombs do not discriminate between Serbs and Albanians and Gypsies, adults and children, everybody suffers equally under these despicable enemy attacks. In the new attacks during the last 2 or 3 days, we have seen children brought in who were injured by the inflammable substances which are contained in these bombs. 2 or 3 nights, all these people came in and they smelled of kerosene, they smelled of inflammable substances, so that all of our emergency departments smelled of kerosene. Little Nadilia, who can't even say how old she is, was hit in the chest. I was with my aunt and mother when they shot at us from the air. Then they put me in the car that took me to the hospital. Dr. Alexander Vasic was here at the intensive care unit near the bed of a 13-year-old Saranda Boguyevtsi. These criminal acts of nature aggressors will probably be represented by their live fabricating mechanisms such as CNN and BBC as attacks on military targets, but the footage of severely injured civilians are the best evidence of enemies' true intentions.